January 20th, 2026. Well, to me, it's just getting crazy out there. I don't know what else to say about this one. By the way, I had quite a response to the last video, and I hope some thanks for all the new followers. So let's get into what's happening. Again, it's kind of a little bit of the same stuff we had last time in many ways. For one thing, of course, I guess one of the biggest new developments on the Greenland front is the fact that now Trump has announced a 1% tariff on like 8 European countries. Most of them are EU, but 2 of them aren't. That'd be UK and Norway, and the others are like your Germany and Sweden and whatever. France. Well, and that's going to go up to 25% if the Greenland issue has not been resolved by that time. Meanwhile, Russia's cheering Trump on, saying that he'll go down in history if he succeeds in getting Greenland. So, in other words, they're not opposed to it at all, which is a little bit of a paradox when you think about it, obviously, because, if Russia's threatening to take Greenland, and we're going to take Greenland to prevent him from taking it, yet Russia's cheering him on to take it now. It doesn't seem like that's consistent, does it? But anyhow, that seems to be the situation. And now European Union is talking about a 93, billion, I guess, euro counter tariffs if we go through with our tariffs. And so, meanwhile, there's mass protests in Denmark, of course, ultimately, and Denmark and some other European countries are deploying troops to Greenland as some kind of a show of a resolve or something. So we'll have to see how this all pans out. It all looks kind of scary and crazy to me. As I pointed out in my previous video, I don't know where this is going, but nevertheless, it's probably not going anywhere good, actually. The other question is since the general option is to buy it, as I pointed out, what will that price actually be in terms of money? They were talking about $100,000 or something to each Greenland resident, but, well, they really don't have a lot to say in it, actually, unless they actually put it to a referendum. But at any rate, and then the question about Congress is what would Congress be willing to appropriate in order to pay for it? Remembering that the Republicans have a fairly slim majority, and we've been through that before. So, at any rate, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I guess that we have less than a couple of weeks that the beginning of this thing occurs in terms of the first 10% tariff. But remember, these people are already under tariffs from the previous negotiations. So, well, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. If you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and you can also follow me on Rumbles if you prefer that site. So after, in addition to that, of course, we still have the ongoing situation in Minneapolis, and as I understand it, in moving toward the Insurrection Act, although it's not been announced yet by any means. It looks like that we have like 1,500 troops from the 11th Airborne Division Arctic, or whatever it's called, which is basically the Alaska Army units. There's a couple of brigades, and then there's some supporting elements that make up this kind of understrength but rather interesting division. Has the characteristic it's trained to operate in very cold climates. Well, if you're going into Minneapolis now, that's what you need. So anyway, they're training in riot control techniques at the moment as we decide whether or not we're really going to go forward with the Insurrection Act. But it will be interesting to see where that all goes on that one. I'm sort of more supportive of the Insurrection Act than I am the Greenland operation. But nevertheless, we'll have to kind of see whether he needs to do that or not. So far, the ICE is pretty much saying that they think they have it under control at the moment. On the ongoing situation of Minneapolis, there's 2 rather bad incidents happened, I think, on either side. On the side of the protesters, a large group of them led by a guy who was formerly a Black Lives Matter activist, barged into a church during a worship service and confronted and harassed the congregation, and and that is really a negative thing. And even Waltz condemns that apparently, although the local police apparently didn't do anything about it. But nonetheless, so that's one side. On the other side, a elderly man who was an immigrant from among tribesmen, I guess, from the Vietnam period, and who was a U.S. citizen, was mistakenly drug out of his house in the cold weather of Minneapolis in his pajamas and questioned, I guess, in the vehicle for an hour before he was eventually let go. You'd think at least they would let the guy put his clothes on and a coat before they drug him out into that. But and it turned out he wasn't an illegal immigrant after all. He was a naturalized citizen who probably worked with our special forces during the Vietnam War. So that's the kind of a sad incident, which suggests that the situation is getting kind of tense on all sides. And I think with all the harassment, I think even our ICE agents are getting a little bit frazzled, maybe. But at any rate, we'll have to see whether the Insurrection Act actually gets declared. And I would definitely say this, that all this bad stuff I put the blame on the Democrats ultimately, because if they hadn't let over 10 million illegal or more illegal immigrants in during the Biden administration, then none of this would be happening. I mean, they set this thing up, and so bad things are happening. And so that's kind of our ongoing situation here, and we'll hope that things begin to develop for the best. Meanwhile, the war of words between the U.S. and Iran continues to escalate, while the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is sailing into the region and should be there shortly. And so, although to me it's looking like that the situation in the streets of Iran have been brought somewhat under control, perhaps with a brutal put down that's been unleashed by the revolution. The Revolutionary Guard Corps, as it's called, the IRGC, and it's anyhow. There's been a lot of nasty words from the Ayatollah threatening war with the United States if something happens. If somebody makes any move against him personally. There've been a lot of people have been killed, that's for sure. But on the other hand, it looks to me like that the overall effort kind of came undone because most of our forces were out of the area when the time to do something came, and the time has now passed, and basically the revolt has been, it looks to me at the moment, put down. Although we'll see if it springs up again. There'll probably still be some issues. I think that a lot of it, I still think, was a mobilization of some of the minority groups, particularly the Kurds and some of the other ones, against the kind of the mainstream of Iran at the moment. And obviously a lot of people probably don't like what's going on there. But on the other hand, external strikes by a foreign power might actually unite them rather than divide them. And the other point is that it would expose a lot of our own troops in the area to counterstrikes. And the other issue, I think, is to what degree would Israel be brought into this? Would they be part of it or not? Because the strongest air power in the region that's on our side is, well, mostly I'd say the Israeli Air Force, and which is equipped pretty much with American equipment, state-of-the-art stuff, F-35s, F-15s, special derivatives of them, and a lot of F-16s, particularly the F-16I, which has a lot of Israeli modifications that were made to specification for them. So all this means that if Iran strikes at Israel, though, then they'll be brought into the attack completely. On the other hand, we have a lot of deployments of infantry troops in various places like Syria and so forth for various purposes that could come under a missile attack or drone attack, and might not have the level of defenses that you would be expecting. Also, to me, it's kind of interesting. Is Israel really ready for another round with Iran, considering the depletion of the air defense assets that have been expended in the war last summer? So hopefully this thing remains calm. I think it was kind of a thing that basically got a bunch of people in the street and got them killed, is what it seems to me like at the moment. I don't think it worked out like planned at any rate. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. And of course, if it gets really out of control and both sides start bombing each other's oil facilities, we could be into a major oil shock, and the decline in gas prices we've seen lately might reverse in a dramatically bad way. So let's hope that don't happen. It certainly wouldn't be good for the election, because to me, one thing I would wish Trump would focus more on is the election and trying to get things in that direction. And we do have some good initiatives going on, including some kind of a health care plan to make up for the lack of special subsidies in the Obamacare Act. And we'll have to see exactly how that goes. They are talking potentially another reconciliation bill aimed toward, quote, affordability. However, the problem is our margins in the Congress are so slight that it would take almost all hands on board to pass it. And remember, we have a few dissident people and who could really mess us up. I mean, the Marjorie Taylor Greene defection was definitely not a good thing, and so forth. So at any rate, so that's about it for this video. I just wanted to kind of run through these issues. I think it's getting a little hairy out there. We'll see what happens next. Hard to predict some of these things, I would say, is my main reaction to it. So I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble as always, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. You can probably watch me making comments on X more frequently in terms of little short things, which I kind of use for those kind of reactions where I'm usually reacting to left-wingers in various ways. So, and so, at any rate, all for now.